And good afternoon all. Thank you for joining. See so many familiar faces, new faces. Can't see the back, but also people online. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Edwin Weidema. I'm the field CTO for EMEA within Veeam. Been with the company for almost 8 years now. And as I always say, it's a roller coaster. You step in, you never step out. We just do another looping there. I'm specialized in cybersecurity. Some people will know it, some people don't. I'm an explorer for 30 plus years. Other people call that a hacker. But I like to explore. That's also going around through the event, going through here. Let's find some things. That's also why I talk to a lot of customers worldwide. That's also why I came up with the idea for this deck. Because we're all kind of sinners, right? But it has a little bit to do with some things where we're being told to do. Because we all have things called budget. It's like, yeah, we don't have the budget, but we still have to do something, especially in cybersecurity. But then something else pops up. It's like, okay, we don't really have that budget, so we try our best, right? Then we have time. We don't have time, so we have to do it fast. Then something pops up like, okay, here's the manual. Who reads the manual? No hands? No. It's the same. So that's the whole thing. People will just say, okay, just toss it out. But that's the whole thing. Some people will read the manual. And if you're going around and you've seen the badge, there's something beneath it, like right brain. When the events team came to me, it's like, okay, we have like left brain, right brain. It was like, I'm missing one. No brain, because that's me. When I come into the room, it becomes chaos normally. But I'm a right brain, and also a dominant one. But if you want to know for yourself, because we have a party later on tonight, that's also about left brain, right brain, please go into like the closing session. There is a link in there. They can do 8 questions, and you will find out if you're right brain or left brain. But let's have some fun today, right? Because also one of those things where the sins are being built on is skills. People will transfer from like infrastructure to like a backup. All of a sudden, you're the risk manager. Or even the CISO. A few years ago, some CISO said, that's cool, I'm now a CISO. That's the same what I said when I came into Veeam. It's like, okay, let's specialize in cybersecurity. It's easy. Boy, was I wrong. So let's dive in. I took some numbers from our surveys we do every year. Those numbers are really interesting for me to see how it's going out in the field, how people react and how people engage, but also experience particular events, especially about ransomware attacks. So we learned from 1,200 victims and only nearly 3,000 cyber attacks. Because sometimes if there's ransomware on the hands, they call me. Like, okay. The first thing I always say is like, whatever you do, go out of the room, scream, kick a dustbin, I don't care, get a cup of coffee and come back in. If you push that red button right from the start, I will come in and kill you. Because that's the whole point. If you start restoring right away 2,000 machines, you will have more damage on your hand than you ever have seen. That hacker couldn't even do so much damage. So, 7 sins. So it's like the slothful saving syndrome. The others will handle it, right? Hey, I shouldn't care about it. Others will do it. And that's the whole point. Talking to people like, it's not my department, someone else is taking that one. So taking one for the team? No. But it's about shared responsibility. And that shared responsibility, when we looked into that, to the different the different hyperscalers, I was like, hold on. I see that they do a lot of things with graphics, but they're all the same. Because it's true. We as customers, we have our obligation against the data. That's also why law enforcement comes in, also where the laws come in. Technology cannot save and solve everything. I always talk about people, process, technology, in that order. Because people use processes, and they are being assisted by technology. If you do it the other way around, so you go for that nice box, ribbon around it, that will solve everything for you. It's like that silver bullet. It will be a real pain in the ass later on. Because then those processes have to be accommodated to the technology you chose. And then people are, hold on, I'm not going to use that one. I will use something else. And it's not my problem. And what I always say, cloud data doesn't protect itself. Too many times I'm told, yeah, we're in the cloud. Everything is super cool, and we are 100% secure. Okay, can I get another coffee, please? Because 79% of the organization currently back up their data to cloud. That's a cool thing. That's also what I've seen as a progression for like the last 8 years. But also 61% consider native snapshotting as a backup. People that know me will see I will fire up now. A snapshot is not a backup, but can really help you. That's also, if you look to the integrations we have with Veeam and all storage integrations, if you can control that snapshot, you can get out of a jam really fast. But it's not a backup. But it can really help you, especially in cyber resiliency. You have it, you spin it up, and you push it out. I had a customer in the Netherlands that was hit by ransomware a few years ago. They were not a customer yet, but they had some free pass, and they were in synchronous. Fortunately, we could just put a Veeam copy on it, mount those snapshots, read them, inventory them, and do a restore. So consider that. But also 70% of organizations suffered a ransomware attack. Most of the people I talk to are like, nah, what's the risk? What's the relevance there? It will never happen to us because it's someone else's problem. Ooh, that's a scary one. And where we see that the laws are being changed, especially now in Europe with the NIS2 coming in, and C-level becoming liable, that will help all of us who are in IT, because we will have to find each other. We have to fight this together. Not on our own. It's not someone else will handle it. No, we all are going to handle it together. So protecting cloud data. We don't have time on our hands. There's no budget. So no backups. We just use native snapshotting, right? That's cheap. We're going to do that one. Everything is okay for now. And we will come back to that later on. But what about the RPO for those native tooling? People don't look into what that technology is because it's someone else's problem. But if you really dive into that, some native tooling or some native snapshotting can only be used for like every 4 hours. That's changing. But at that moment in time, it was 4 hours. If you use the Veeam tooling, you can do it like every minute if you want. But then you have to invest in backup tooling. Or better said, recovery tooling. But also, what happens to backup data if your subscription ends? People have seen that before. Like, hold on, my data is gone. Oh, someone terminated the contract because it's not that person's liability. It was like, oh, but we were going to migrate to the other cloud, right? Yeah, but we were not there yet. So you stopped the subscription, now the data is gone. And we don't have a backup because there was a snapshot that was tied to that data. And it's flushed. But also, do you have visibility in costs? That's what I like, especially when they showed me this a few years ago. We have an estimation tool in there. Because when I'm going to some particular place to store data and a backup, I want to have an estimate. Okay, what will it cost me? Because if I don't know that from a risk perspective, I cannot make any judgment. Okay, is it good, is it not good? Where should I go? What's the most cost efficient for us? But also giving that right protection. But also, what's the footprint of backup storage with native tooling? Because those snapshots can get out of control, especially when you're using them for like every hour and controlling them and don't clean them up and let them run. And then the bill comes in at the end of the month. Then I will have a CFO on the line like, we have to talk. Did that, done that. So I'm now more in the backup instead of like using the native snapshot tooling there. But also, what about an exit strategy? If you're tied into that one, think about how you get out of it. Do you want to go out of it? No. That's also why we do a migration, because the cost of migration is normally the biggest one, going into into a particular cloud or into another cloud. But it's about balancing that. So number 6, wrath of the risk takers. And I personally love this one, especially as like a hacking background. There are no bad guys in the cloud era. Like, we're in the cloud, we're secure. There are no bad guys there. It's like, okay, I log in. And if I do hacking, I'm not doing hacking by using a zero-day exploit. I just log in, because I will take one of your accounts, get access to that one, because your account is already in your infrastructure, and it's good. It's marked as, okay, we can trust that account. And from that account, I will look for a machine that's interesting, that's maybe not so protected. I can use that as a footprint, because that machine is also trusted in your infrastructure. And it can be local, can be in the cloud. It doesn't matter where it runs. As long as there's a connectivity going on, we can hack it. Or better said, we will log into it, and then we will elevate ourselves and go to God mode. Then we have fun. So when that happens, thank you for your data. That's one of those things you don't want to see on a Monday morning, especially when you're not a morning person like me. I'm more like a night owl. When you wake up, like, okay, I have so many missed calls, there is something going on, most likely. One of those misconceptions is, yeah, we were running in the cloud, or we have that particular operating system, or we're running in that particular hardware or storage box. All environments are equally vulnerable. It's depending on how you look at it, configure it, install it, set it up, but also maintain it. A lot of environments are not being maintained. That's also why you will see all those numbers going up. And this is from the Ransomware Trends Report 2024, and that's now live. So the link is now live, so you can just go to that link and download this report. There are some real interesting numbers in there. But this one is really shining, because it's like all over the board. Doesn't matter which infrastructure it is. If there's data in there, and it's valuable, it will be a target. But also the question we had, how confident are you in your company's ability to recover from a ransomware attack? This one is interesting. Because those 4 different stakeholders, they all answered. And it's like, okay, I think we have some CISOs on our hands that are really positive about the capabilities of their team, and I like that. But as soon as you zoom in, and I can zoom in, most likely. Let me see. Here. Oh, other way around. There we go. You'll see that backup administrator, 6% not confident. Hold on. So the CISO thinks his team is really confident, and the backup administrator is like, if something is, I run for the hills. And that's the whole point. We have to align that. That's also why I say it's not just one problem. We all are in this game together. Unfortunately, the number is really high on the backup administrators, so we have to fix that. Number 5, greed in the cloudscape. In cloud we trust, yet we overstock. We have so many people seeing like, okay, there's a new service going on. Do you also protect Veeam? Do you protect that particular service? No, not yet, because it's just live. It's like 2 days in the marketplace. We don't have support for that one yet. Yeah, but we're already using it. Can you back it up for us? Yeah, we can move fast, but not that fast normally. So always be aware of what's going on there. And that's where normally I get a call from like a CFO, like, okay, it's getting out of control. And I had one company coming in, we're going to go to the cloud. I was like, yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah, we just move everything to the cloud, and then we're done. Okay, hold on. 3 months later, I got a call. CFO. Edwin, we have a problem. And I was like, okay, doesn't it work? It works perfectly. But I burned the whole budget in 3 months. I have 9 months left. What should we do? That's where this comes in. Because you have risk on the one thing, the threat landscape is changing rapidly and also more dynamically. So we have to protect against different threats coming in. We have limited budget. But also some skills are missing there. But if you look at the middle, it's like backup modernization. We're still in that phase because we're going hybrid in that part. Data's moving all over the place. We're getting more and more data, as we saw like yesterday in the keynote from Anand. And that's the point. We still have to meet SLAs because we said, okay, we can do that. That SLA, that RPO, that RTO. But I think we should talk about something differently than RPO and RTO. We should talk about MTD, mean time between over, let me get that one straight. It's time between what you can have, maximum tolerable downtime. Because it's not really about RPO and RTO. It's about how much time can you have to be down. And of course, we never want to lose data, so that RPO should be 0. But it's about that MTD, getting there. Then we see the cloud acceleration, because we will just pick some things up and move that to the cloud. And we're scattering our services over all over the place, different clouds, different ways of working. And that's good, because that's also how we all survived the whole COVID thing, because we could scale to the cloud. If you were in one of the sessions for, I think it was Lenovo, they were also saying, like, yeah, in the COVID period, we had like 9 months to go before we even could get a server. And that's the point about, okay, I have to scale now, so I have to get that box in. But it's also about, okay, how to recover. Backup is like table stakes. Backup should be there, period. Should be tested and should work. But now think about how can you recover? What's the duration? Did you try your restore? Do you know? And testing will give you 2 things. A, can you restore? B, how long will it take to restore? And that figure is really interesting for duration. And then it's how. Are you going to do it manually? Are you going to do it automated? And if you look manually, then you really have to know how those application chains are being built. Because starting with a front-end server and pushing that to the internet and have your customers trying to log in, well, there's nothing on the back end. Doesn't make sense, right? So you have to work your way around from the database up to that front end. And by putting that, for instance, in a runbook and orchestrate that, you can also test that. But you can also speed it up. You know, okay, hold on, that application chain, that's the one that has the least amount of MTD, maximum tolerable downtime, to spin up. And then there's also where. I've been in situations where a customer has been hit. Was last year, I was on stage for our internal kickoff. I was being dragged off. After the session, it's like, come with me. It's like, okay, did I say something I shouldn't? No, there's something going on, and we need your help. Okay, there was a ransomware attack on one global provider in EMEA, and we had to figure out how we could help them. But it was also about, okay, forensics came in, auditors came in. There was a ribbon around the hardware. Please do not touch. Police, crime scene. They were not allowed to touch their own hardware anymore, even log in, because they were doing forensics. But now you're trying to already create something to help you get out of it. They said, we're going to the cloud. I was like, okay, that's good. Do you have a contract? No. Okay, do you have a contact person to call? No. Do you have a skeleton infrastructure? No. Okay, so maybe we should not do that, because if you go to that particular cloud, we just push that button and we can, from Veeam, recover into the cloud fast. But you will open up to another attack within 10 minutes. Been there, done that. Had a lab, connected it, didn't properly look which network I should deploy it to, and all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, I had ransomware on my hands. Yes, it was a demo about ransomware, but I was a little bit too fast, too early. So I had to get to my backup and get that spun up and restore. So think about where you're going, because if you don't have a designated area where you're going to recover to, that will be really slowing you down. Not days, but weeks or even months. So think about that up front. So if you know where you're going to recover to and work backwards. This is also from that report, but this is from the 2023 report. It takes, on average, 3 weeks to recover per attack. That's kind of a scary thing, because if we go back to that global company that got hit, they asked for budget, only a few million to get things ready and be protected. But at that moment in time, they said, no, we have no budget. They got hit by ransomware. And after they figured it out, they paid 1 million per day on operational costs. They lost. But they were out for 10 months, totally. They were back in 3 weeks for like the critical services and everything that should be running, but it took them 10 months to get back on their feet for everything. And that's a lot of money not so well spent. If you also look through what we do as a Veeam, that's also why we say, okay, all those different services, we try to protect them as fast as possible as soon as they come out, because we get people coming in, hold on, we have a new service, we saw that, we jumped on it, we need a backup. Fortunately, they say now, we need a backup. Before it was like, yeah, we have a service, we'll take care of that later. That's also why you will see this list grow. Also the announcement we had yesterday about AWS version 8, and we keep improving on that one. It's also about those platforms, because that data moves all over the board. So number 4, proudly cutting corners in the cloud. The silo slip, about skills. If you go back for 6, 7 years, everyone said, okay, we're gonna break down those silos, right? Look in your organization now. Do you have more or less? Who has more silos in his organization? Who has less? I think the more will win. And that's also the thing we see, because if you look at job titles, a lot of people move from like infrastructure into security, from risk management into security, even from legal into security. You see that it's scattering. As long as there's being a team being formed for like the whole thing about data protection, and you have those different skill sets and jobs coming in together, that makes sense. But normally they're all in their own silo, trying to operate and trying to fix, trying to protect. That's also what we see with the infrastructure backup roles. There are different teams. We have a central IT team, cloud administrators, data protection team, application owners, administrators. Hold that, go back one. And then it's also who is doing and protecting that data. And you will see it's like 52%, 1/3, one quarter. They're all tied to data in your organization. But it's not just one team protecting that. It's in different teams. But now think about those chains, those application chains I talked about. Data is on different teams to be restored. Now you have a ransomware attack on your hands. How are you going to get the whole application chain up in the same fashion and also in a good fashion? So follow the 3-2-1 rule. Doesn't matter where your data lives, follow that 3-2-1 rule. If you go, for instance, to the cloud, say, yeah, we're going to the cloud. Great thing, good thing, look at it, but please follow that 3-2-1 rule. 3 copies of data, 1 production, 2 copies. 2 different media, snapshots on volumes, for instance, and I said, it's not a backup, no, but you can count on that one. But also, for instance, backup on object storage. But also make sure one is offsite. Can be an alternative region in that one, but make sure that one is offsite. But then also add some other things to that. So like on-premise, going back on-premise, but also object storage. Make sure that you fill that 3-2-1 rule. Whatever you do, whatever technology you choose, I don't really matter about that one. But if you can follow the 3-2-1 rule, you will be protected in that one. You will be resilient. You have a copy somewhere living that will be live. And utilize a logical air gap. That's where some fun came in. I was like, okay, looking into how that's being built. Security boundaries considered by cloud. But AWS calls it accounts. And then I was looking, okay, accounts in Azure. There are no accounts. There are subscriptions. Okay, subscriptions. Then we move to Google. They're called projects. Okay, come on. We talked about the skill set, right? This is not making it more easy. It's making it more hard. But that's the whole thing. We have to think about, okay, what's in your organization? What fits your organization? Where do you have the skills? So saying we're going to all those clouds? Really? Because then you also have to train your teams on all those clouds. So please make a choice. But you can always, if you think, yeah, but I'm not really sure, I have to make that choice. Make the choice, go there. If it's not good, use the data freedom, get it out, get to another cloud. But make sure that your team is ready. So don't push that button before the subscription ends, or that you said, cancel the subscription there. But also implement principle of least privilege. Don't share that same account with the rest of the team. Make sure that everyone has his own account. That's also what I like about the compare feature within Veeam, especially in Active Directory, and there will also be an Entra ID comparing, because people will say, hey, I didn't do anything. It's like, okay, let's bet. Let's do some cake on that. And then we just compare production with like the backup. It's like, hold on, you threw away some organizational unit, and on that organizational unit, there was a policy where the applications were being deployed. Now we're seeing worldwide application be retracted. That's a good thing. So make sure that you have principle of least privilege there. And you can do that on different categories and different things. So this one in region, make sure that you have different regions. But also make sure that someone is doing production and doing the storage for production has no access to backup storage and vice versa. Some companies will say, yeah, but we don't have that big of a staff. Create 2 accounts. Even if it's one person, create those 2 accounts. Because if one of those 2 accounts gets compromised, you don't lose both at the same time. And yes, it's more an administrative burden for the one managing, because he or she has to log in with a different account. But it also saves you. Especially me, it's also why I said right brain, chaos. When I come into something, chaos always. And I make mistakes. And more people have like a right brain. We will make mistakes. It's not intentionally, we will make mistakes. So we need something to get back out of that mistake. So please help us. Immutability and encryption. You all see this like familiar in the cloud and like on-prem, it doesn't matter where it is, because it's all about those things. Utilize what you have, especially those security features and also what you've seen, especially in the introduction general session. I'm a happy man. Because I had a wish list when I came within Veeam and was starting the wish list, like, okay, we should have this in the product. Those security features, I think we have to move this way. Fortunately, 96% of my wish list is now done. So they said, we can relax now. No, I'm creating a new one. But yeah, also make sure that like those keys that you use to encrypt are stored somewhere safely. But always encrypt your backups. Please do that. Or if you're really sure that no one else can go into like the local copy, cannot touch it, then don't encrypt it. But otherwise, please encrypt your backups. Because if I come in and I hack something and there's no encryption, the easy way for me to do some damage is just click encrypt backups, put in my credentials, password, press enter, and you have encryption through the platform. I don't have to drag in other tools. We can just log in, change things. Then you have to pay me for the password to get out of it. That's not what you want. So make sure that you do the encryption. Have control of that. But also validate recoverability. If it's on-prem, if it's a laptop, if it's physical, if it's virtual, if it's in the cloud, test. As I always say, if you have a backup and you didn't test it, you don't have a backup. Make sure that you test it. And by doing that, you get those 2 interesting parameters. A, you know it works. B, you know how long it takes. So number 3, gluttony in the sky. And that's the myth of limitless cloud buffets. And we've seen that, and we have reached the limits of the cloud, especially when we started with the whole cloud phase and journey with Veeam, getting those products ready. We had customers bumping into those limits. And that's good. That's also what you will see for development. You see that a lot of Kubernetes clusters will be in the cloud. Why? Because if you ask an application developer, how many nodes do you need? Like, I don't know. Give me everything you got. Until the CFO said, no, please don't. But they need it, because if you don't know the boundaries yet of that application, you have to have freedom and also have to have that scale. But what I've seen with a lot of companies, they will develop it in the cloud until they know, okay, the application is ready. Then they know how many nodes they should have in production, take a backup, and restore it on-prem in that particular number of nodes cluster. And that's also why you have that limitless cloud buffets, because there is money tied to it. Egress cost, ingress cost. But you also see that there's now kind of a battle going on, and I like that, because the egress cost is going down or even being scratched. So it makes our life a little bit easier. But also about thinking about long-term retention. We're just going to push it into the cloud. Especially when we started with immutability, I was trying out something. It's like, oh, hold on, that's nice. I can even put 99 years in there, and then I pressed enter. Not a wise move. So we had to go and ask people behind the cloud, can you please change that? I'm like, no. Hey, you put it in immutability for 99 years, so ching, we're in business. But they could change it. But that's the whole thing about thinking, okay, what do I need in the cloud? And what fits the whole bill in that one? So looking at that, it's like 50% is only for like a year. So retaining that data. And where is it stored? And if you can see, there are different parts, but all are cloud. But there's also tape coming in. And we had a nice discussion, especially around lunch, like, cloud, we're going to use tape. No, we just skip the tape because the operational costs, we just toss them out, and we just go to the cloud, store everything there. But cloud and tape, who is using like cold storage in cloud, if I may ask? Who is using tape still? A lot of people. But also the people that are not using tape and using that cold cloud storage is still on tape. Because that's where you have to pay, and then someone gets his sneakers on, runs to the vault, get your tape, and get back. And the more you pay, the harder he or she runs. That's the whole point. But that's the point about, okay, where do you store your data, and how long should your data be kept? And also the discussion around the table at lunch was, okay, we have to store it for 7 years. Why 7 years? Yeah, because we need that data from that particular application for 7 years. Hold on, but that's a database most likely. If I take a copy now, and there's 7 years in that database, I only need 1 day retention, right? Because I have 7 years in the database. I don't need to store it and keep it for 7 years. And that was kind of a point, okay, hold on. Maybe we should get the right tool for the job. And also think about, okay, is it an archive? Should I keep it for a particular law and regulations in that one? Or should I pick something else? But that's the whole balance about being limitless. You don't want to go in limitless. Within the strategy team, we also are using for our whole demo kit and also our labs, we use the cloud. But every month we will run through like, oh, hold on, is something running? Most likely it's me. And then we have to shut it down, because you will see builds coming up like, oh, hold on, that was for that particular event that's somewhere in Miami called Veeam, and it's still running in December. So look through it. Make sure that you cut those costs, but still have that operational efficiency. Number 2, the tech temptation trap. Lust with no exit. And I really love this one. Because we all love technology, right? Been running around here on the expo hall. There's someone with a camera and another camera, and the camera just goes back and forth. Interesting. Never seen that one. What's that? That's the same what we see in infrastructure. We all adopt technology, right? We love technology. Do we ever say goodbye to technology? There's only one thing I can think of in the last 30 years I have been in the business that I said goodbye to. But the rest we still have. We just rebalance. We're like, okay, that application should be on Kubernetes. That's fine. So we also have Kubernetes, but we still have physical, we still have virtual. And we're also in the cloud. So we make our life a lot harder, skills coming in, or lack of skills. And that's also why we open up through the whole security and threat landscape. That's the whole temptation trap. Jumping on new technology, that's really cool. Good. But also thinking about, we have other things in our bucket there, and we're trying to maintain it. What are you going to do with that? Is that new technology really helping you get rid of some other technology? But if you really dive into that, it won't. Because those applications normally have like a lifespan, 20, 25 years. If you, like me, go into healthcare, I know that there are some applications I installed 30 years ago. They're still running. There's no backup, but they're still running. There's also in different verticals, there will be application or application chains that are primary, that have not been replaced yet by a cloud-native application. So we still have to prevent deletion, modification, but also attacks on those platforms. That's also why we will see IT and OT, so in the industrial automation, coming together. And people really in OT will say, I will never connect to IT. We're not going to get married. It's like, yeah, you sure? And then someone is coming, yeah, I like you. And then we have connection. And all of a sudden that OT controlling, like the belts on the airport, where your suitcase is coming through to the internet. And that's interesting. And that's also where you will see here. Because new technology will be connected, then we have the AI pop up. Just another interruption, right? AI. But it all helps us. But it's all about that tech temptation trap. Choosing infrastructure. Which one should you choose? Which one shouldn't you choose? I cannot answer that for you. I can help you with questions about it. It's like that right brain, left brain. Go through a couple of questions, and most likely you will know. But thinking about the production workloads brought online within the cloud in the last year, what percentage came from each of the following? The purple one, migrated from physical servers. Green, migrated from virtual servers. Yellow, created new. That's where normally like the new applications come in. So we have the old ones running, we have new ones coming in. We don't say goodbye. And that's also what you will see. Has your organization brought any workloads back from public cloud hosted? Some don't, some did. That's also what I will see with people, especially when the CFO is being involved, looking through your budget. It's like, okay, those applications, we have pushed them to the cloud, but cost-wise, is that really interesting? Or if we can do it ourselves, someone is waving at the back, 5 minutes? Yep, thank you. So by thinking about, okay, where it's going from and where it's coming to, always rethink, not just looking like, oh, the technology is great. Of course, it's interesting, we'll dive into it. I'm an explorer, so we'll just rip it apart, build it again, have some extra butts and nodes, and it's like, it's still working. Have some spare parts now. But it's also with that technology. Think about it. Look through the technology, especially when you go through like the Tech Expo. All those vendors from like Diamond to like the last one also go to the end. Because those standing there, like silver sponsors, most likely in 5 years' time, they will be in the front. So when the cloud goes down, what happens? Someone on my team said, hey, you can't get hacked when the cloud is down. True, she had a point. But also it's about they are not protecting your data in that part. They're making sure that you have your service up and running and going through it. Making sure They will do the utmost and even above and beyond to make sure that those servers are running. But they also go down. Sometimes they need maintenance, sometimes there's also a bad actor coming into that one. Because if the cloud has a lot of data, where do you think those hackers will be? Not on your premises, they will be in that cloud. So don't count on wiping and restoring your hardware. 31% of hardware not able to be wiped because of law, because of forensics going on. But also think about, we're protecting workloads, right? We're protecting data. Who's protecting all the configurations? Configurations of the switches you have in your building, configurations of, for instance, a building control system. Those configurations in your infrastructure, or that's building your infrastructure, are also worthwhile protecting. That's also why we saw AI come in, and we saw an opportunity. Because those LLMs produce a lot of data. And some really early in the game said, hold on, we want to have different parts of those answers from the LLMs and compare them. And we have to store them. But also now legal is more coming in, so they have to control that one. But by thinking about, okay, hold on, what can I do, or what am I allowed to do, or what I'm not allowed to do? So hybrid cloud is the new normal. There's also where you see centrally managed, layered security, cost optimized. Thinking about that and using Veeam in that one to have that cloud mobility, moving around. Because we have to make choices under pressure, right? We don't have the time, so we have to make a choice now. We don't really have the skills at the moment where we build it up when we go. And then we will figure out the budget. So number one, almost there. The credit card manager. You know some of those, like going on to the golf course? Like, hey, what are you using? I'm using that. Oh, I can do that. I have a credit card. And my team is not playing nice, so I will play nice with them. And I will just buy that and like, we're done. It's good. We're protected. No. That's where we see where the most things come in that are really not protected. Because someone took a credit card and we have something on our hands that's so big. And we have to fix that. But it's a hybrid game. If you really look through it, and we have seen this before, and I also have now those 5 years all lined up, you will see it's like 50-50. That's also why I say we don't say goodbye to technology. We just rebalance those workloads where they should run, where they are the best and most efficient to run. So we have to figure out all over the board where we're going. But please don't use the credit card manager. Think about your own strategy. What fits your organization? How are you going to do? And how are you going to work there? There we go. That's also where the Veeam data platform comes in. But if you look at this picture, and I have to redo this picture like every month, because we are embracing more things. We're putting in more things. But it's a good thing, because this is our framework. This is how we think about it, how we can help you as an organization and as a customer control that one. Everyone has seen this, right? So we're going to move on onto that one. So if you want to know more about those particular Veeam industry agnostic strategic researchers, get one of those, look through it. It's really interesting. And if it's not for you, it can be interesting for someone that has some control or needs some more information. Because I talk to a lot of C-levels, and they operate by 3 things: risk, relevance, return on investment. If you can answer those 3 to them, they can help you make a decision in your benefit instead of against you. So if you want to help us, please fill out the surveys along the way. Also for others, we now also have pins on the Veeam Village and also at the registration. They got lost somewhere, and the Bermuda Triangle is also on the thing. Don't think they mentioned that on that, but it looks like a Bermuda Triangle. But it's like what we have with data. Please make sure it doesn't go into that gap. Make sure that we can recover. Make sure that we all are resilient. So with that, stay safe. Until next time.